What?
Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.
Hey, what's up, Fantasy Points? We are back. This is season 3 of Outside the Box with Scott Barrett here on the Fantasy Points channel. Could not be more excited for the show. As I said on Twitter, I get asked literally every day for the month before the show starts, are you going to be doing Outside the Box with Scott again? Or a lot of times people forget the name of the show, but are you doing that show with Scott again on Saturdays? Yeah, of course, we're doing the show again. I could not be happier to be back here at Fantasy Points doing the show with my friend Scott Barrett, the CEO of Fantasy Points, the master of dank stats. Scott, how are you doing this fine day?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited. I'm happy to be back. Football's back. It's all very exciting. You're back. We're back as a team, the dream team, Neil.
We are back. We are so excited to talk some DFS after months of Scott making fun of me for being a best ball guy. Now we get into my wheelhouse, DFS, and talk about some DFS strategy here. 12 games late to start. For anybody who's new here, we're going to be going position by position. I'm going to be asking Scott just for some of his favorite quarterbacks, and then of course I'll throw some names at him if he doesn't bring them up. Running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. We're not really going to talk much about defenses, but we're going to build some lineups at the end, so you get some idea of which defenses we like to build around. We'll build some Millie Maker lineups at the end of the show. By the way, if you haven't already signed up for Fantasy Points, you can get any 15% off any product at Fantasy Points using promo code OTB15. It's a fantastic product. I would recommend signing up now. You're going to sign up eventually anyway. Why not just sign up right now and start taking advantage of the tools right away? We'll probably take a look at some of those tools throughout the show. I've got the data suite up. It is back and it's better than ever. I mean, the data suite has been fantastic from the start, but it just keeps getting better. You have an AI product now, Scott. How is that going? Have you been using it a lot?
That's right. Ball knowledge. We have a new AI product. It can help you answer all of your start sit decisions. Friend of the show, AJ Smith, UFL offensive coordinator. He drafted his team off of ball knowledge, and the team is sick. Yeah, we didn't even really work on that functionality all that much, and he drafted the sickest team with ball knowledge. But yeah, great trade analyzer, start sit functionality. We're working on looping in DFS, so it could be maybe like a mini lineup optimizer as well. But really excited about the potential with ball knowledge. But yeah, did want to make a point to just pause real quick right here and say I appreciate everyone watching, but I don't have the same loyalty that I do to Fantasy Point subscribers. I love my Fantasy Point subscribers. Use promo code OTB15, get 15% off. You can get an NFL premium sub for just $175 for the year, or all in, which is, with the code is basically less than $30 a month. So you get access to the data suite, ball knowledge, Fantasy Points premium. And so I think you're going to subscribe anyway, like week 6, you're going to join. So might as well just join today and make more money weeks 1 through 5. You can get access to my article. You can get access to our projections, which were better than stochastics, better than the blitz, better than roto grinders last year, higher correlation, better hit rate. But they're like 1/20th as utilized as those other sites. So that's a major edge. And I'm going to be obnoxious. I'm going to be paywalling some of my favorite plays, like my number one must play that'll be paywalled, and you'll be annoyed, but you can just go to our Discord and see who that play was, which, shout out to our Discord. Our Discord for the DFS channel is like early roto grinders mixed with 4chan in like the best and worst ways. No. It's so much fun. So yeah, OTB15, that's my plug. Also, you get the Johnny Scott Sunday morning show, which is legendary. And yeah, that's my pitch to you guys. Might as well do it week 1 rather than week 6.
Yeah, well worth the money. I recommend it to people all the time. Even when I'm not on Fantasy Point shows, I recommend it because you get access to all the articles, even if you don't want to pay up for the data suite, which I love it. But if you don't have time to dig into the stats and stuff, then obviously what's the point of signing up for something you're not going to be able to use? But then just sign up for the NFL package. You're going to be able to read articles from people who are using the tools that do have the time. So I think it's well worth it. But people want us to get into the show, I'm sure. So we will get into the show here. Scott, we're just going to start at the top with quarterbacks. And again, we're going to be going position by position here. How would you like me to sort the quarterbacks? Do you want me to sort by fantasy points, salary? What's easiest for you, Scott?
Probably ownership makes the most sense.
Okay, yeah. Oh, good point. We do like to start by talking about the chalk and just kind of deciding who's good chalk versus bad chalk. And I guess we'll start with the 3 quarterbacks who are over 10% owned right now. Those are Trevor Lawrence at 14%, Jaden Daniels at 13%, Daniel Jones at 11%. Any of those guys stand out to you as players you really want to be on, maybe even over the field, or anybody you're fading from the group?
Who did you just mention? The top 3?
Trevor Lawrence, Jaden Daniels, and Daniel Jones.
Yeah, none of these players really strike fear into my heart. And this is something we should probably talk about, is how week 1 is unique and different. I think it's a really good week to get contrarian because we don't know anything. Things change so dramatically one season to the next that you're going to see a lot of overconfidence. Like any really bold stand, this is the best play. This is the ultimate week to just try and get away from that if you have any argument to the contrary. And so that's a big factor to me. I kind of don't spend too much time on analyzing matchups and whatnot. I think one of our edges, and the edges fantasy point subscribers have, is, you are reading my redraft content all year long. And, I have my Exodia plays, and I really kind of want to die on that hill week 1 because, in past seasons, maybe I didn't do that. Like 2019 Lamar Jackson, I was like alone on an island. He's going to win MVP. And Mark Andrews is like the best tight end pick you could make. And, I looked at the matchup and I was like, I think the running back's going to score a lot of touchdowns. I'm going to get away from that. And then Lamar Jackson broke the slate in 2 quarters. And so, I learned that lesson painfully that season. And since then, I want to be higher on my Exodia plays than anyone else. And so that's kind of how I approach it. Maybe you have anything else to add, or you disagree?
So I tend to be more spread out than you do. I also do not have the same Exodia play mentality. So you've researched them all summer. You come in with a really strong takes on particular players that you want to be jamming. I think I play it more from a week to week, checking out the ownership, looking at the matchups, with a little bit less. I kind of come in with a blank slate, I would say, of I don't want to have any preconceived notions of these are the players that I want the most. So I do come at it, I think, a little bit different from you do. I also play a lot more lineups than you do. So I think it makes sense for you, if you're playing fewer lineups, to just play the guys that you really believe in, get ahead of the field there. Whereas if I'm playing 150 lineups, like I will this week, I'm going to want to be more spread out. I think you just kind of want to spread out your risk. That's something that Shady Advice, maybe one of the best fantasy players in the world, will talk about that all the time, how his portfolio is just totally spread out. He's just not losing a ton of money slate over slate. Typically he's going to be really spread out in his exposure. So I'm not jamming 3 quarterbacks. I'll be spread out. I'll probably have 12 quarterbacks in my player pool. So it's a little bit of a different approach when you're playing large field, a bunch of lineups, as opposed to just a few lineups. And that's one of the places where you and I are different, is you're only playing a handful of lineups. So I like your approach of just I'm going to get ahead of my guys, whereas I am going to take a kind of a broader range of quarterbacks here.
Yeah. For those who don't know, by the way, Neil is a former Millie Maker winner, legendary DFS player. I'm much more of an analyst, although I did take down the red zone. What was it? Year before last now. So that was fun. But yeah, to answer, and we play very differently. I'm more bold, extreme stances, more, just 3 lineups. You're very much more, playing around with the sims and the optimizers. But to answer your question, yeah, Trevor Lawrence, I went down in history as a major Trevor Lawrence hater. And it's been 5 years now, and I'm waiting to be proven wrong. The issue is I'm a major Liam Cohen truther as well. And, a big believer in BTJ and Travis Hunter, who, if he wins a MVP this year, I win $1 million. That's really cool. But, a chalky Trevor Lawrence for a player, I've always been pretty low on. I wrote him up as the cash quarterback this week. So that's how I'm going to get my exposure. But for tournaments, I mean, the guy has exceeded 335 passing yards just 3 times in 62 career games. Nick Mullins has exceeded 395 3 times in 20 career starts. He's never been, really the ceiling guy. I think you could play him. If you play him, it would be double stacks. But I certainly am either going to full fade or come in well under everyone else.
Okay. So under on, when you say under on everyone else, what do you mean by that? On all the Jaguars or?
Under everyone else, like, so
they're under the
showing
field,
14%. So I would
Gotcha.
come in under that.
Okay. Understood. Okay.
That was kind of just like a mini rule we like stuck with last year, is just like auto fade the chalkiest quarterback. And that worked out well for us last year. Way more often than you'd expect, I think. Jaden Daniels, I do like. That's last year's Exodia, one of my favorite players. I think he probably wins MVP this year. I think he takes his game to another level. But it's also like, I kind of don't like paying up for the most expensive quarterback on DraftKings. I like taking my shots on, banking on one of these other quarterbacks posting a spike week and a better matchup. Obviously, really, really love the player. I think the Giants defense is a little underrated. I think Terry McLaurin missing just about all of camp. We don't know what kind of shape he's in. Holdout wide receivers really tend to start slow historically. Noah Brown is very questionable to play. I think we analyze quarterbacks, not just the quarterback, but the stack, and the stack doesn't really excite me, or I don't see it ending lives. So Jaden Daniels is another quarterback I don't mind being lower on.
Yep. Okay. And then Daniel Jones, he's the one that I expected you to be like, no, I have no interest in Daniel Jones. But he's the third one on your list. Are you interested in Daniel Jones, or is this still too much for him?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, if I was a best ball bro like you, Neil, I would have had a ton of Daniel Jones exposure this offseason. So it's interesting to see him so chalky here, or not so chalky, but the third chalkiest quarterback of the slate. It's really an amazing matchup. This Miami secondary is easily worst in football. I think Jones is underrated. One of my favorite stats is that he has exactly as many career games with over 90 rushing yards as Cam Newton and Mike Vick. So when he was in New York, they called him Vanilla Vick. And so he has that rushing upside. Shane Steichen, I think, is extremely underrated, specifically from a fantasy perspective. I think the Colts have led the league in situation neutral pace of play in 2 or 3 straight seasons. I love this supporting cast. This is 4 really talented wide receivers and a great tight end. But again, like a chalky Daniel Jones, he's really never been good. I think, because all these receivers are good, I don't think it's very easy to stack him. My personal lean would be Josh Downs, just because I love Josh Downs. We saw what Downs did last year with Joe Flacco. If Anthony Richardson wasn't Tim Tebow levels of bad, if he was just like average, like we could have seen an easy wide receiver 1 season. Maybe that was the Michael Pittman back injury playing a role, but I really just think Downs is the better player. So that would be the stack I would lean into. But truthfully, like, not someone that gets me all that excited.
Okay. So we're largely fading the chalk, it sounds like.
That's what I'm doing. I don't know if you disagree.
I think I agree with at least Jaden Daniels and Daniel Jones. I think I'm more into Trevor Lawrence, but I've been a Trevor Lawrence sucker like since his rookie year. So I'm kind of coming from the opposite angle of you, where I've been buying in, and it has not worked yet. But maybe now this is the year. Carolina to start. He's got Travis Hunter now. So I can tell myself a story where it's just like, this is going to be a different offense with Liam Cohen and Travis Hunter added, listed as a starting wide receiver for those who are not checking the news all the time. So I think I'm more excited about Trevor Lawrence than you are. You can throw Brenton Strange into those stacks potentially. He's the only one that I'm like kind of excited to play in DFS. And none of these ownership numbers honestly are like high enough that they scare me off. Years past, you'd get quarterbacks sometimes 25-30% owned. The field has gotten better to the point where sometimes the best plays don't get enough ownership. So I think that am probably going to be with or over the field at 14%. Trevor Lawrence, Jaden Daniels, I'm probably going to be a little bit under the field. I think for the reasons that you pointed out, where it's just a little bit hard to get excited about the stacks. I see Debro in chat saying that he actually likes Terry McLaurin. I'll have some of it. I actually drafted it in our cage match this week on Wednesday night. Scott was the guest for anybody who has not watched that one. That was a lot of fun. So I drafted it in the cage match, but I do think I'll probably be underweight on that stack overall. And then, yeah, Daniel Jones doesn't really excite me. I think I'll be underweight there. There are some other quarterbacks that I'd just rather take some shots on. So a little bit different. But largely, I think the same. The positive with Jaden Daniels is you just get such soft pricing week one that like paying up for the top quarterback isn't that hard. So like he'll be in my player pool for that reason. But I don't think I'm going to get up to this amount because I don't love the stacking with Jaden Daniels. After those three, I have some favorites. Do you want to point out some of your favorites? Do you want me to just throw some names at you? How do you want to do this?
Yeah, I like it when you throw the names at me personally.
Okay. So Joe Burrow, I think, is going to be pretty popular. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually comes in even higher than this just because everybody wants to play Joe Burrow. I think it's going to be a thing all year with how bad Cincinnati's defense looks, that it's just going to be like, could be a shootout. And I think this week people are going to want to play Cleveland as well. So I don't have an issue with 9% Burrow. How do you feel about it?
Yeah. How many fantasy points per game do you think Joe Burrow averages since Jamar Chase joined the team against Cleveland, who they play twice a season?
Oh, I think that I believe he has struggled against Cleveland. So
13.6 fantasy points per game.
Yeah.
And then Jamar Chase, 0 spike weeks, 0 games over 23.5 DK, 4 games under 7. They've really owned Joe Burrow. And so I was talking to our charters about this. You know me, I'm a numbers guy. Like I suck at film. So it's great to lean on the fantasy points data charters, elite ball knowers. And they kind of think this is real. They think, Myles Garrett just has a way of just totally disrupting games. And Cincinnati's offensive line has always been a mess, will probably still be a mess, even if it's, a little bit better, more cohesion than in past years. And then Denzel Ward, might just have Jamar Chase's number. There's a quote from Jamar Chase who says Denzel Ward's the toughest cornerback he faces or has faced. Otherwise, you look at this, you look at the schematic, it couldn't be any more perfect. But I had to bring this up just because this cost us a lot of money last year. I kept going all in on Joe Burrow doubles in these Cleveland games. To be fair, it was a Jameis Winston game and it was a DTR game, which will play a role. But I do want to mention that. So I don't want to get too carried away with it. But by the same token, it's still like, Joe Burrow doubles to end the year last year. Like you were just printing money. So I don't want to I'm not fading this by any stretch, but I did want to bring that up. And I think that's going to be relevant when we talk about another quarterback a little bit later that I think like 5 people in the chat kind of already knew where I was going to go with it.
All right. That'll be fun to get there. Yeah, I think Burrow. Did you see the quotes? I've not actually watched the clips of I think Denzel Ward was maybe talking some trash about Jamar Chase, and Jamar Chase responded. So people are expecting
he's like the one guy who could actually talk trash on Jamar Chase.
I know, but if Chase coming in pissed off, maybe they're going to go out of their way to get Chase the ball. Debro suggests they're going to move him around.
It was T. Higgins, by the way, who out targeted Chase in both Cleveland games last year. That's notable to me.
Yeah, last year T. Higgins was just really good. That was that's kind of a concern.
I think he might be even better this year. He dealt with a number of injuries. They've moved him into this power slot role, according to their beat writers, which is such an efficiency cheat code. Look at Drake London last year. They're kind of hinting that it's like similar usage to that. And I always kind of thought he was, just benefiting from softer coverage due to Chase being uber elite. But there was that Steelers game where Joey Porter Jr., one of the best shadow cornerbacks in the game, locked in on Higgins, followed him around everywhere. And Higgins went off. He had 16 fantasy points, but more than that, there were 7 DPI called on JPJ when traveling with Higgins. And it was like the most in like by any quarterback in 16 years. And he asked Mike Tomlin after the game, what happened there? And he was like, hey, when we play Shaq, we're going to use our fouls. And it was just like crazy to me, the level of respect Tomlin put on T. Higgins' name. And he wasn't the only coach last year. And so, yeah, I don't know. Higgins is popping. He's one of our top values. I think that's notable. But obviously, we all know what Chase did last year, winning the Triple Crown. He's a scary player to come under on.
So when you do play Burrow, do you think you'd be more inclined to single stack, double stack? How do you think you play that?
Well, I think you'd have to double stack. To me, I think that's like the primary allure with a Burrow.
Okay. I mean, it gets expensive, but yeah, like I said, it's pretty soft pricing this week, so we can make it work. Maybe we'll try to build one.
It would be like a 410-4 game, something like that, where
right,
both went off.
Yeah. I'm just going to keep moving down the list because I'm seeing other names that I really like this week. I know based on our best ball conversations, you're a fan of Drake May's prospects this year. I think a lot of people are kind of expecting a knockdown, drag out kind of game one here, though, between the Patriots and the Raiders. Do you see it that way? Or are you interested in playing some Drake May at 5,500, 8% ownership here in week one? Or are you going to wait for another week?
No, I love Drake May. That was my Exodia quarterback this year. Really bullish on him and his potential to be a sort of Josh Allen light this season. One of my favorite stats was, he ranks second among all quarterbacks in scramble yards per game, but he only averaged like 0.1 design rushing fantasy points per game. Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, they were all between like 5 and 10 design rushing fantasy points per game. And, our sources were telling us, and then the team basically just came right out and said it multiple times, is no, they're going to make a point to get Drake May more design rushing attempts. We all remember Cam Newton in the Josh McDaniels offense breaking records in design rushing fantasy points per game. And, really underrated talent, thrower of the ball, accuracy. Like he had, fantasy point data era record, like worst supporting cast by offensive line play and by pass catchers in terms of separation. And, all those things should be a lot better. I like him. I will just say, I think he's difficult to stack. And the other minor note on him is that their round one rookie left tackle, Will Campbell, is currently listed as questionable. If he's out, Max Crosby could make things really difficult for May this week. But yeah, I mean, I love my Exodia quarterback. How do you stack him? I think that's tricky. I think Stephon Diggs makes a lot of sense just because he's the highest projected guy. And, like the wide receiver one is like, typically the optimal stack. But then there's also, to me, he is like Josh Allen light. And so like what was optimal for Josh Allen stacks is typically like no one or the cheapest guy. So maybe it's Hunter Henry. And, tight end's always such a guessing game. Maybe he gets two touchdowns or something like that. But I also like Travion Henderson. If you talk to like the dynasty bros, I know you're a best ball bro, Neil, the dynasty bros are expecting like 65 rushing yards and 115 receiving yards this week. And like the DFS bros aren't really there. So, you can lean into that at lower ownership maybe. So Travion Henderson drives me crazy, by the way. Like he's just guaranteed to be a guy who's like 7K every week. And I'm like, yeah, I can't go there. The volume's not there. He averages 9.5 touches per game. And then he scores like 25 fantasy points every week. But yeah, so those are the different options. Like I said, love Drake May, love the price. The stack, it's just a little trickier, but it's not as tricky for you, Neil, who's an MME guy.
Yeah, I can certainly get there. Also sounds like a better in best ball profile where it's just like he's not going to have enough touches, but then you just have to hope that the games that he's efficient, he blows up.
Henderson?
Yeah, Henderson.
The way you describe
him.
For sure, better in best ball guy.
Yeah.
Jahmyr Gibbs' rookie season has been my comp.
Yeah. I was thinking Devin Achane was going to be the name I was going to throw up, but maybe Gibbs is the one I was thinking of.
Also an interesting note on Joe Burrow. They've really made a point to, they don't want to come slow out of the gates like they've always done. So you saw Joe Burrow play way more in the preseason than ever before. And they've also said they want Joe Burrow to be way more aggressive early in games. They felt like they've been too slow and too sluggish and too run heavy. And so I don't know, that excites me for Burrow. It also excites me for the opposing offense.
Yes. So a little bit off topic, Scott, but you just reminded me of this because you're talking about Drake May and his rushing. You've been pretty bullish on Justin Herbert's rushing potential. That looked really good last night. You've been calling him like he could be Josh Allen-esque if he was just willing to run. Last year he had foot, ankle injuries. Now he's healthy. So you kind of expected him to run a little bit more. Do you think that's going to keep up to this extent, like the amount that he was rushing last night? Do you think there's any chance that Justin Herbert's going to rush like as much as Drake May this year?
Yeah, I think so. I hope so. He was my Exodia runner up. And in my draft guide, I concluded like, hey, this was actually really close. I really like both guys, but I'm going to go with May because I spent 4 hours watching highlights of both quarterbacks running the ball, and I just see way more explosion and athleticism for Drake May. But if Herbert outscores May, I'm never watching film again. So I have that to look forward to if that happens. But yeah, no, very bullish. But I don't know. I still feel great about May. I honestly still feel like amazing about May because I had a lot of people, or subscribers DMing me, hey, should I look to trade May for Herbert? No, I still love May.
Nice. All right, I'm going to continue moving down the list because Joe Flacco is, I mean, you just kind of gave a point for Joe Burrow and opposing offenses. I mean, Joe Flacco is facing the Bengals' terrible defense this week. He's 4,900. We talked about a little bit on the cage match. How much interest you have in 8% owned Joe Flacco this week?
I love Joe Flacco. Like the commenters all guessed it. He made us a bunch of money last year. He made us a ton of money the year before that. So I'm just going to keep going back to the well. I know week 1 pricing is loose. You don't really need to go there. I just think it's awesome. And, we don't just analyze the quarterback. We analyze the stack. I love the stack, but it's not just a belief in Joe Flacco, by the way. It's even more a belief in Kevin Stefanski, who I think is one of the more underrated offensive play callers when it's not Deshaun Watson, who looks like, one of the worst like a really bad backup caliber quarterback. Last time we saw Joe Flacco in a Browns uniform, he started 6 games. In those games, he averaged 320.5 passing yards per game. Amari Cooper averaged 108.8 receiving yards per game. David Njoku averaged 80.5 receiving yards per game. That was more than Joe Burrow, more than Jamar Chase, more than T. Higgins. And then last year, Jameis Winston played in 6 full games with the Browns. In those games, he averaged 315 passing yards per game. Judy averaged 113 receiving yards per game. So more than Joe Burrow last year, more than Jamar Chase last year. And David Njoku averaged 9.2 targets and 15.2 fantasy points per game, despite dealing with injuries. Both of those numbers were more than Brock Bowers. And so it's just whenever there's been competent quarterback play, Joe Flacco caliber quarterback play, this has been a fantasy bonanza. We know the Bengals defense is really one of the worst in the league. And so I'm excited, man. I'm bullish. I really like Jerry Jeudy. I really like David Njoku. And then you can go with T. Higgins on the bring back, or you can go with Jamar Chase on the bring back, or you can onslaught it. But yeah, I like me some Flacco, man.
Yeah, I'm with you. So those are the ones that I think we need to talk about. I mean, I actually like going down the list even more. I'm sort of interested in a Baker Mayfield, a Kyler Murray. Baker, I mean, that game I think is going to be pretty popular, the Tampa Atlanta game. People are expecting some potential fireworks there. Actually, let's talk about both sides of that game. Are you interested in Baker Mayfield getting 5% ownership at 6,600? Or also, do you have any interest in Michael Penix at just 3% projected ownership, 5,600? How do you feel about the quarterbacks in that game?
Yeah, I really like both. But I ended up going with Penix for the slate breakdown. Just the 3% got me hot and bothered. And like, it's all about the stack. We have Drake London projecting as I think the best or the second best wide receiver value on the slate. The matchup looks great. Tampa Bay was a sev all of last year. And then you like factor in what happened when these two teams faced off last year. Kirk Cousins, who was a total ghost, who did nothing when facing any other defense, had in 2 games 785 passing yards and 8 passing touchdowns. Like it took him like 4 games against any other opponent, 6 games against any other opponent to match those numbers. And yeah, the Penix offense was great. It wasn't super pass heavy, but the average 32 points per game without Darnell Mooney for half of those games. And so I like it. Again, week one, you don't really need to go super cheap at quarterback, but it excites me.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I like it as well. Kyler Murray against New Orleans. I mean, that's going to be just a really bad defense this year, I think. Are you more inclined to play it through the quarterback or the running game? And we can talk about the running backs in a bit. But to what extent are you interested in Kyler Murray? He's 6,400, 5% projected ownership.
Yeah, I'm more inclined to chase it with a James Conner Cardinals defense stack. But I'm a Kyler hater. But when you get these sort of lopsided matchups, it really could just be the case that like they do whatever they want on the first drive, just passing touchdown, good starting field possession on the second drive. Kyler runs it in, et cetera. But he didn't make my pool for the slate breakdown, but I certainly get it.
Okay.
I think people tend to overrate these, what should be a blowout. Like it very easily could be the case that Kyler kind of soaks up the scores.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, I guess there are two more quarterbacks that I am particularly interested in. Those being Bryce Young and Tua Tagovailoa are the ones that stand out to me. Do you like either of them? Bryce Young going against Jacksonville, that's a game that just interests me because it's kind of two bad defenses and two maybe ascending offenses. I don't know what you think of Bryce Young. I know at the end of the year last year he was running more than he had previously. A lot of people think it was kind of fluky. I think maybe Ryan Heath wrote something. I forget where he actually landed on it. How do you feel about Bryce Young here in this matchup with Jacksonville?
Yeah, I'm not really a Bryce Young guy. Just one game over 300 passing yards, and he wasn't really running a lot. It was just that he like kept scoring rushing touchdowns, and it did feel fluky. But I mean, yeah, this is a game that certainly could go off. It's kind of scary to not have some exposure to either quarterback in that game, though I do have a contrarian leverage play I'm excited about.
Okay. At another position, I assume?
Yeah, in that game.
Gotcha. And then, finally, Tua Tagovailoa against the Colts. That game, I think, could have some fireworks potentially. Everybody's still healthy right now. The vibes are bad, but that's going to keep the ownership down on Tua at 2% projected ownership. Do you have any interest in going there?
Yeah, I like that. I think that's spicy. I think that's fun. I really like Tyreek this week. That's one of my, JM to win always talks about like players that have a high likelihood of posting a had to have it score. You really need to place a premium on those players to the extent that like they might be all that matter on a single week. And like Tyreek has that in spades, and he's not drawing high ownership. So I like the idea of leaning into that. I mean, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, like how many jokes were made at the expense of Dolphins fan 329-41 being the best DFS player ever. And, now no one wants to play it. So I like that. I think that's a good shout.
Yeah. Any others that you feel you want to talk about here?
Yeah, I think the best contrarian quarterback play of the slate is, you have one guess, Neil.
One guess. All right, I can do this. All right, knowing Scott.
Knowing Scott is key. Knowing Scott, I feel like you should get it.
I should get it by knowing you. Okay. I mean, I've talked about so many of these quarterbacks. I've already limited the options. I got to limit more next time. I got to know how to play the game. I'm going to go with Justin Fields.
No.
Damn it. All right. I tried. I only had one guess.
Jake actually wrote him up, and I kind of deleted it. Didn't make my final pool, but Brock Purdy.
Okay, that makes sense.
I've always been a big Brock Purdy. I had a lot of money on him to win MVP his sophomore year. Came very close. One of my favorites just look at what he did at the tail end of last year without his star left tackle, without Brandon Ayuk, without Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel fat, and what did he have? Pneumonia. And the dude balled out. You just take away two really bad weather games, a blizzard, and you take out a torrential downpour rain game where both quarterbacks sucked in both games. He was putting up top 3 numbers at the position over his last 12 weeks. The year before that, only Josh Allen averaged more fantasy points per dropback. Kyle Shanahan is a demigod. And now I think things are potentially even more concentrated. Debo's gone. Juwan Jennings missed 99.9% of training camp. And so, yeah, a more concentrated 49ers offense. I know we don't really know what's going on with CMC. We can talk that out. But I like that. That excites me. Seattle's defense is tough, but I mean, a 4% owned Brock Purdy, no one talking about him. How many times has Brock Purdy plus Kittle or Brock Purdy plus Kittle plus wide receiver 1 broken a slate? So that's one I really like.
I should have gotten that one. In retrospect, we played Purdy so much last year. I'm just rusty. I'm rusty on the game. I'll get it next week. All right, we're ready to move on to running backs then. So I will get there.
Yeah, just real quick. Someone asked if you already have a standard sub and you upgrade to premium. Yeah, the 60 you paid for standard will come out of the cost of premium, nice, which is 150. Just make sure you get in our Discord, because our DFS Discord is a blast. 4chan meets Roto Grinders.
Charlene says the stream only has 39 likes, and that is a good reminder. I always forget to do it on the show. Please do like the video. It's really helpful for us. If you like the video, make sure you subscribe to the Fantasy Points channel. This is the fastest growing channel in fantasy sports right now. Maybe it's one of the fastest growing in fantasy sports, because they're putting out great content literally every day. They do dynasty, they do DFS, they do everything you could possibly want. So make sure you are subscribed to the Fantasy Points YouTube channel. Please like the video if you could, and then of course use OTB15 when you sign up for a Fantasy Point subscription.
Are there a lot of dislikes because I told YouTube I don't care about them as much as our subscribers?
I would assume that is the case. Right. Yeah, people don't like hearing that. You got to stop saying that, Scott.
You said that last year too.
I did. All right. Running backs, top owned, Christian McCaffrey. This is a big. What do we even?
Yeah, we'll see.
We don't know. Yeah. If he plays, I mean, tough matchup with Seattle. But he's way too cheap. So where would you be at on? Is it just so much based on like what are you hearing about him? Because it's like if we don't hear anything, you hear he's active. Do you assume he's a full go, or what do you? I don't know. I don't know what to do with it.
So Saint Steven just asked if CMC is out, do I like Purdy more or less? And I honestly don't know. I really dedicated like a good 15 minutes thinking about this last night. I really don't know. Brian Robinson is the only healthy running back on the roster who like has admitted he doesn't know the full playbook. I think that probably means we get more Purdy airing it out. And then like even sort of like a somewhat hobbled CMC is an upgrade to Purdy just because of how defenses have to account for him when he's on the field. Defenses just totally play Purdy in a totally different way that it benefits him in terms of hyper efficiency that we should expect. And then like a fully healthy CMC is just like one of the most valuable players in the game. So I don't know. I kind of just, it doesn't worry me about Purdy one way or the other. But yeah, this was before this calf thing, which, you know, was really depressing to me. He was looking like the best play of the entire slate. And now obviously things are a little more uncertain. The projection did come down on him. He was at like a 3.3 fantasy point per dollar value. So we do have an injury doc on him, and he's still popping for us to some degree. What do you do? I don't like playing players who are hurt entering week 1. We just saw that with AJ Brown. We just saw that with Devonta Smith, who by the way had like 10 consecutive days with a full practice, and they looked awful. But Christian McCaffrey is also just like the guy I'll always break all the rules for. Like I might be in a toxic relationship with him. And so like, I could see myself still for sure having exposure to Christian McCaffrey. He says he's fine. He says he's going to play. He says he feels great. He did say the exact same thing this time last year, and then didn't play for months. What are the odds he's lying again? He wouldn't do that to us, right, Neil? Right?
He wouldn't. He would not do that to us 2 years in a row, week 1. Of course not. Yeah, that was such a bizarre situation. I see everybody in chat talking about Dante Thornton. We haven't even gotten to wide receivers yet. They're like, nobody's talking about him. Scott talked about him in the offseason. You talked about how much you loved him, but we'll get to wide receivers when we get there. We're not ready for it yet. All right. Second on the list, Chase Brown, again facing Cleveland, projected for 22% ownership at 6,600. If he maintains the workload he had at the end of last year, that's it's like almost, it's hard to fail with the workload that he was getting in that offense. But how are we feeling about Chase Brown here?
I like him. if you go off a projection, you should fade him at 22%. Like if you just sort by fantasy points per dollar, he's coming in under Alvin Kamara and different running backs like that. But this was a player I was very bullish on technically in Exodia. Saw insane usage, insane volume. I think he sees it again. And, Bengals have the highest implied point total of the main slate. Should be a ton of scoring. He's totally game script immune. He averaged over 7 targets per game in losses, and then in wins he has that touchdown upside, and could ice the clock against a bad Cleveland team late, that team that Vegas thinks is going to get destroyed. So I think he's a good play. I wouldn't call him a fade, even though he's this chalky. I think he's strong. Just not my favorite.
Devin Achane coming off a little bit of was it a hamstring injury? Expected to be totally fine here, but I don't know. As you said, you don't like playing players that are injured coming into week 1. He is 6,900, getting 18% ownership. How do you feel about Devin Achane?
I feel good about it. I need to talk to my sources in Miami. I have really good sources, or just I DM with their best beat writer, because they did just elevate a running back. But I talked to him last week. He wasn't worried at all about the Achane injury. He was telling me, in fact, he expects like really heavy usage because Jalen Wright couldn't be any more in the doghouse with the team. And then Ali Gordon was playing behind Alexander Madison for almost all of camp. And now, Madison's out for the year. And so, and this is just a player we love. We've always been very high on. He was basically the fantasy RB1 in games Tua played last year. Rookie season broke the yards per carry record, so insane efficiency. Then sophomore year was on pace for over 100 catches with Tua, really splitting the design target role with Jonnu, who's no longer on the team. And so this is probably my favorite running back play of the week.
Okay, Devin Achane. So leaning in there. That is good to know. James Conner, you already said, I think that you prefer playing, if you're playing the Arizona guys, you prefer playing it through James Conner rather than the passing game. How much interest do you have there? He's getting 18% projected ownership.
Yeah, this just looks like a great James Conner spot. We always want to play him with positive game script. He has that in spades. Should be amazing scoring position all game. Plenty of red zone drives. And so, I would want to stack him with Arizona's DST. It's a great schematic matchup. Our O-line guru, who spent 10 years as a scout with the Browns, loves this spot. And this was one of CoachSpeak Index's biggest conviction calls of the offseason, is that Trey Benson's a nothing. They were building statues of James Conner and naming children after him. So I think he's a really strong play.
I'm glad to hear you say that. I guess I did not read his specific comments, CoachSpeak Indexes, because that was my takeaway from reading the CoachSpeak Index Discord. Was like, these coaches, they went from like hyper bullish on like, oh, we have 2 starting running backs, to like, no, he has to, like, Trey Benson has to earn his role like later on. I was like, this seems bad to me. So I'm glad to hear that he read it the same way that I did. I'm pretty in on James Conner this season. I think in this matchup in particular, I really like that call. Jonathan Taylor in that game with Miami, would you use him as a standalone play, maybe in some game stacks if you are playing some Tua? How do you feel about Jonathan Taylor getting 16% ownership?
Yeah, I think he's a great play. In games without Anthony Richardson last year, Jonathan Taylor put up RB2 numbers by fantasy points per game, overall RB1 numbers by XFP per game, targets per game tripled. And we saw what happened over his final 4 games last season, or 3 games. I think he had 30 plus carries and 3 straight, and just went nuclear, over 100 fantasy points in 3 games. Looks to be a good. Well, Miami's front is probably a little underrated, but
okay, I
still really like this matchup for him. Indianapolis, their implied point total is massive. It's more than the 49ers even. So I like Jonathan Taylor.
We got a couple questions in chat, and I'll start with EUE 2K says, how much of a timeshare for Walker in Seattle? What are your expectations there for Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet?
Yeah, I'm expecting a full-on bell cow workload. Kenneth Walker, one of my Exodias. I'm a big Clint Kubiak stan. I'm a big Kenneth Walker stan, but we saw what Alvin Kamara did last year with Clint Kubiak, the outside zone scheme, massive yards per carry bump, tons of design targets. We saw what Christian McCaffrey did with Kubiak the year before that. Outscored the next closest running back by over 100 fantasy points. And I think we see Kenneth Walker in that sort of role where, a really good number of targets and him just smashing in the outside zone scheme, which, I know Seattle's offensive line is maybe like worse in the league, but that's just Kenneth Walker has been great in outside zone. It's a perfect fit for him. I think you see him in the second level more to show off that insane athleticism that he possesses. And, just really bullish. But the big question is, like, there was that weird thing all throughout the offseason where, he was taking, multiple practices off. I had a friend talk to Seattle beat writer, said not too worried about it, but ESPN put out a report that was, not great. So there is a chance, maybe he's not fully healthy. I'm kind of more inclined to believe, he is healthy. And like that's kind of the thesis on Walker, right? Is like this guy who's so talented, but he's just never healthy. And I'm kind of hoping, maybe it's wishful thinking, that week 1 is just about the healthiest he's going to be all year. And so I want to lean into that.
Yeah, it seems like they've been managing him in the offseason so that it can be a full go for the start of the season. Has been my expectation also, but
and coach speak has been great for him.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll find out soon. Alexander Bayer asks, what is an Exodia? That is just Scott's players who are going to break fantasy this year is kind of how I would describe it. Scott has a really good track record of finding the guys you're going to need in fantasy this year. And I think it's generally more of a season-long thing to name somebody your Exodia, but then they're good week over week in DFS also typically. So you can also target those guys.
We're fading an Exodia, I think, or at least I am, but we'll get to that in the wide receiver
section. Okay. That'll be fun. Another question, Charlene asking about Ollie Gordon. I think it's too thin on this slate. Do you agree with me? Would you play any Ollie Gordon in DFS?
I think that's too thin for a week 1 with a ton of loose pricing.
Unless we get Devin Achane like surprising inactive, then
or news reports.
Yeah.
I will say week 1, the Sunday morning rap sheet Glazer reports are massive. Like if you hear them come out and say, I'm Ted McMillan is their alpha. They love him. They're expecting a featured role. You have to bump your Ted McMillan exposure. If they're saying, expect a committee between Achane and Ollie Gordon, bump up your Gordon, because these guys are clued in and they kind of keep it close to the vest sometimes until the last second. So please be on top of that. Please stay in the Fantasy Points Discord. We'll help you out with all that.
Yeah, definitely important to pay attention to that stuff. Alvin Kamara, I skipped over, but he's in that same game with Arizona. I mean, he's one of those guys, like, even in like not the best matchups, he can always just PPR scam his way to a big score. He's with Spencer Rattler here. I don't know how that affects things for you for Alvin Kamara. Do you have any interest there?
I mean, he could totally just come out of the gates with like 18 carries and like 8 targets and just do what he does. An older player who's, probably healthiest he'll be all year. I get it. I ended up not writing him up, but certainly that's within the range of outcomes.
Yeah. I took him in the cage match against you this week. So I'm hoping that he gets 10 receptions is what I'm dreaming of for Alvin Kamara. But yeah, I don't know, not super confident in it. Who else do I want to ask you about here? I mean, Bijan Robinson, I think looks like a pretty strong play at 8,000. He's expensive, but you can obviously afford him on a slate with loose pricing. What's your level of interest in Bijan Robinson at 12% ownership?
Yeah, he's a really good play. Bucky Irving is a really good play, especially because they're providing leverage on a game that should be really chalky. I mean, I'm not really seeing it, but like, I think once the cards flip over, it's like, oh yeah, of course that game was mega chalky. Like everyone remembers what happened in those games last year. And so I think they're both really interesting, really strong leverage plays. They're not my favorite leverage play in the slate, but if you're making multiple lineups and you recognize that you don't have a lot of exposure to these Atlanta or Tampa Bay players, you should heavily consider throwing one of these running backs in there. Thesis for Bijan Robinson is this was like just about the unanimous overall RB1 in season-long drafts. And the argument for Bucky Irving is like, we all remember what he did last year with a 55% snap share. And, by all accounts, it looks like it's going to be a 73% snap share this season. So, I think both are great plays. Not my favorite leverage play, but among the 3 best leverage plays of the slate.
Okay. Do you have other favorite leverage plays at the running back position that we're going to get to?
Yeah, and I stole this from the golden boy, Ryan Heath. Chuba Hubbard, especially Chuba Hubbard stacked with Panthers defense. He really looks like one of the best leverage plays against a chalky Trevor Lawrence, a chalky Tet McMillan, a chalky Brian Thomas Jr. Imagine a scenario where Trevor Lawrence stacks flop. Who stands to benefit the most, or what would have happened in order for that to have been far more likely than the field considered? And like, Hubbard's underrated. Like, he made us a ton of money last year and did not lose us a lot of money because we picked our spots and we focused primarily on games Carolina stood a chance of winning. So last year, over the last 2 years in victories, Chuba Hubbard averages 101.1 rushing yards per game and 21.1 fantasy points per game. By rushing yards per game, that was behind only Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley. And you're getting this guy for $6K or 8,400 stacked with Panthers defense, both super low owned. And so, Chuba, Bijan, Bucky, amazing leverage plays. I think I like Chuba the most just because, people aren't as on him, but actually 8% is probably higher than what I was looking at yesterday. But I really like Chuba. I don't think a lot of people are on it. But then again, if Jacksonville, wins, he probably flopped. This is really just, sort of leaning into the upside, which, as Neil, is exactly what you want to be doing in tournaments, particularly large field tournaments. Yeah,
for sure. I like that. I like that call. I was kind of thinking about Chuba because it's such a great matchup there. And I do like the leverage angle. He's always tough for me because it's DraftKings where it's full PPR, but I think I'm with you that I like to play. You already talked about Trevion Henderson a little bit. What is your level of interest? Would you play him as a standalone, primarily in Drake May stacks? He's 5,500. I know you said that you're afraid that you're not going to play him when he's 7,000, but are you going to play him when he is 5,500 this week?
Neil, 4% is like so much lower than I was expecting. Like, I really was expecting 12% for one of the hottest players of the preseason.
Yeah,
I didn't write him up, Neil, but he is someone I went to bed last night and was thinking very deeply about.
Okay.
He just has that big playability. That's great for fantasy. I will say, for everyone who's going to watch the Sunday stream with Johnny tomorrow, like, Johnny says this every year. He's like, Scott, we don't play rookies week 1. And I'm like, yeah. But dude, look at Trevion Henderson, Tet McMillan, or Exodia. And Johnny's like, we do not play rookies. And like, he's always been right on that. Like, you remember Malik Neighbors?
Not Puka Nacua. Well, but that was nobody played Puka Nacua anyway, so that one doesn't even really matter.
At 3K too, or whatever he was. But Malik Neighbors struggled last year. Marvin Harrison Jr. struggled last year. And but no, I think 4% Trevion's a strong play.
Xavier Worthy was good in his first game, so I'm pushing back a little bit.
That might have been the only game Xavier Worthy was good at then.
There were not many early on. But there were. I mean, I think I wouldn't 100% go in that rule. It's probably generally a good rule, but I do think you can find exceptions every year. I think there are some rookies.
No, for sure. It's just generally the field massively overplays rookies week 1.
It's people have been calling it best ball brand, where people are so excited about getting the rookies because they're going to come on late in the season, and then they're just like, well, maybe he's going to start hot, and then they score 6 fantasy points and ruin your lineup. You don't want to go overboard with the rookies for sure. But I'll be mixing in some. Who else do I have a couple guys that I really want to get your opinions on because I really like them, and you're probably not going to be able to sway me off them regardless, but I'm hoping that you're with me because then I'll just jam them if I do. But I want to make sure I'm not missing anybody first. Debra brought up liking RJ Harvey. He's not somebody that I'm I've been particularly excited about against Tennessee, but 1% ownership is pretty intriguing. Are you
Yeah,
playing
that's
either
crazy.
of RJ Harvey or J.K. Dobbins at 1% ownership?
It's a game 10 Denver should win. Rookie quarterback making his first start, stack it up. I would for sure play Harvey over J.K. Dobbins.
Okay.
For those who don't know, RJ Harvey was really my and Brett's like big conviction stand heading into the draft. We were higher on him than just about anyone else. And then he went exactly where I had him. I think Brett was still a little higher, but RB4 in the draft, round 2, amazing landing spot. And I really think people are overrating J.K. Dobbins. I think we're going to see Harvey get like a 63% XFP share, something like that. And like we could
starting in week 1.
Yeah. And I think we
Okay.
could get like really good hyper efficiency for this player that we just really believed in. At 1%, that's a great play, but he wasn't someone I initially wrote up. And again, like the rookie thing, like look at Omarion Hampton, dude. Like Omarion Hampton is so much more talented than what he showed on tape in week 1. Sometimes the game is just a little big for you. It's moving a little fast and it takes a couple of weeks to set in, but 1%, yeah, for a player I love, that's strong.
Yeah, no, I like that too. And he's an older rookie running back, which you don't love it for dynasty, but for year 1, that's like a good thing. That means that the team went out and got a guy that they want to play right away.
You need to become a dynasty bro next year, Neil. That's the next step in your evolution.
Well, I took over one of JJ Zacharysen's dynasty teams.
Doesn't get orphans suck. Like that's the worst job in fantasy is taking over an orphan. We gotta dude, we'll do an outside the box startup league next year.
Oh, let's do it. I would love that. Yeah, no, I'm definitely game. I love playing like this type of. I'm in an unlimited keeper league. I love it. It's my favorite league. So I'd definitely get into a dynasty league. So yeah, I'd be down next year. All right. So some people in chat have actually brought him up a few times, but one player that I am super into this for this slate is Jerome Ford against Cincinnati at 5,600, only projected for 2% ownership. I'd be shocked if it gets a ton more than that. Except for there have been people bringing it up. I brought it up on, of course, I'm bringing it up on all my shows. So maybe it gets, maybe I'm underestimated how much people want to play Jerome Ford, but this seems like the nut matchup. He's great leverage. I love the other parts of Cleveland also, but then people are going to play them maybe a little bit more. So then maybe Ford is leverage on other Cleveland pieces, and maybe they're just able to pound it on the ground. He is the incumbent. He was, I think, actually pretty good last year. What do you think about Jerome Ford here?
He's just someone I never play. Like
nobody does. Yeah.
But I also don't know that that's ever hurt me. Like I don't know his odds of posting a had to have it score or like a true ceiling. Like he had the RB1 role each of the last 2 years. And like, I don't remember him ever breaking a slate. He did have a few games over around 25 DK. But I don't know. He's just like someone I never play, but maybe that's a blind spot.
Yeah. It's just for me, like it's a 1 week. I mean, you're right. He scored 24 in week 16 last year. He didn't have a ton of great games even as the starter, but this is just kind of the nut matchup to me, and not going to get any ownership, so I'm into it at very little ownership. If you were getting 9% ownership, then suddenly I'd be like, I'm going to come in under that number, but just at 2%, it's low enough that I'm intrigued. The other two that I really want your thoughts on are the Jacksonville running backs, so Etienne and Bigsby. Tootin, I guess, could be active. Also, we don't know if he's going to be inactive, but it's such a nut matchup against Carolina. And I think because of the uncertainty, nobody is going to want to play it. We can see here, Etienne projected for 2% ownership, Bigsby 1%, Etienne's 5,400, Bigsby is 4,600. Etienne stands out to me as the better play. Like I absolutely love Etienne at 2% ownership against Carolina, but Bigsby I also think is somebody I'm going to be overweight to the field on. How do you feel about the Carolina running backs? Are you going to be getting there at all this week?
Yeah, Jake wrote up Tank and then I deleted it. Maybe that's a mistake, but I tend to just avoid what looks to me like a 3-way committee backfield. There's just not enough upside there. The way they talk about Travis Etienne, it's like he's fat Deebo Samuel. They're like, oh, we'll get him a few like screens and end arounds. I'm like, what? Tank Bigsby they were talking about as maybe their primary early down workhorse. But they're also hyping up Bajal Tootin as this amazing explosive play threat, who is a Exodia for me, late round Exodia, because I like his odds of kind of supplanting the other two backs who I think are jaggish personally. But clearly there's a lot of upside to the Liam Cohen backfield. We saw this in Kentucky. We saw this, of course, last year, which was a committee with a Bucky Irving getting like a 45% snap share and still smashing slates. But to me, I would just avoid all three, and I feel fine about that. I wouldn't scare me at all.
I also do want to reiterate my stance is I play the largest field contest. So I'm not advocating to play these guys in a contest where you're playing against 1,000 people. It's more like hundreds of thousands in the contests that I play. So I think that they're intriguing for those contests. But yeah, I understand the lack of excitement.
What percentage of your money is going to be on mega large field versus expensive small field? Is it going to be like 90%?
Probably less than that, because I bet I'll play a couple of the $100 millies this week. It changes week to week, but I usually play the largest field stuff where it's like, and this week we have a $5 milli. So this week I'm actually going to be maxing out the milli maker. I don't do that most weeks. I'll play like the mini max, the $3. But as far as entries go, it'll be more than 90%. It'll be like 98%. But as far as actual money on the line, it'll be more like 70-80% will be in the largest field stuff, and then some of it will be in the other. Yeah, it's
yeah. And so I'm the opposite. I play 1 milli lineup, and then the rest is I just do every single entry. Or I do the $1, the $3, the $5, the $12, $30, $27, $50, $100, and like that's it.
Yeah.
And so I kind of play it opposite. So keep that in mind when you're hearing us talk about different guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Always important to remind people of that we are playing a different tournament. So it's kind of a different game that you and I are playing, but we kind of talk about all of it. Are you playing any of the Washington guys? The Bill Krosky-Merritt, Chris Rodriguez,
no,
Austin Eckler, maybe?
I mean, maybe Eckler comes out of like really surprises us and is like a bell cow. Because he got good usage right when B-Rob is out, but I don't know. To me, it just looks like a committee. I think Bill is going to get early down work. I think Eckler is going to get passing down work. And you have a running back who can score rushing touchdowns. So it doesn't excite me.
Okay. Just going to scroll here and see if there's any names that
sort by fantasy point per dollar. And you're going to see a player I really like, who I have as a cash play. I have Tony Pollard as a cash play, and not really seeing a lot of talk about him, but we saw it last year when Tajay Spears was out. He was forced to be an uber bell cow where the workload was really phenomenal and the efficiency and production was hit or miss. To be fair, you had Will Levis, who him along with like Anthony Richardson, like two of the worst quarterbacking seasons I've seen, were really limited what the offense can do. And then Pollard himself was seriously banged up. Tennessee's best beat writer, who has a great name, Easton Freeze, continually talked about this. Like the coaching staff was like jaw on the floor that he could even suit up, let alone, be the only good player on their offense. And so I like that. I will say this is a bad matchup. It's, really one of the worst matchups you can get, although there are some key injuries to defensive starters on the front seven, Drake Greenlaw and Malcolm Roach. But, and this is like the lowest implied point total of week one, but for Tennessee. But I like this. I agree with Chris's projections here. I think he's a really strong play.
I think for new people here, you might also find Scott and I's dynamic is I always like overrate the matchups. I think like I'm extra afraid of bad matchups, extra excited about good matchups. And then a lot of the time you bring me on to players that I was afraid to play because of the matchup, because sometimes like the workload just, is overpowers the matchup. Like the matchup doesn't matter if you're going to get enough work. So I like that call. That's probably,
well, I'm very much a volume whore for running backs, but there are like, it can burn like so many weeks. I'm just like, if XFP were fantasy points, I'd be so rich.
Yep.
So that's why we're such a good team, Neil. We're like yin and yang.
That's why we like to work together. Yeah, exactly. Any other? I mean, we talked about Eckler. Gibbs is one that like he's 7,700. That's so expensive. Not like an amazing matchup with Green Bay.
I mean, is he really expensive? How much was he last year without David Montgomery? How much should he have been? He should have been 10.
Yeah, I mean, without. Do you think that he takes on a bigger role this year? Like, do you think that it's just like
I personally do, but even if I didn't, I would want to lean into that potential to just destroy slates. So over his last 9 games with David Montgomery limited, hurt, or out, He averaged over 31 fantasy points per game. Christian McCaffrey, LaDainian Tomlinson never averaged 31 fantasy points per game in a single season. So the potential just ruin lives is there. And you've seen John Morton, the new OC, kind of hint at this. Recently asked if the distribution and workload would be similar to last year. He responded, "We'll see." And like every time he's behind a mic, check out the Coach Speak Index Discord. He's talking up Gibbs. He's talking up Jameson Williams over Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I would not be, it's going to be the same playbook, but I really would not be surprised intermediate level. And so was Jameson Williams, and Brett Whitefield, who was at Lions training camp, was like, it was crazy. I saw Jameson Williams in the slot more often than Amon-Ra St. Brown. And so just the potential to mix things up for an offense that has always fucked and been amazing and like destroyed slates, that excites me. And that's also a thing that's like unique to fantasy points, is we're more bullish on the Lions without Ben Johnson than just about everyone else. And like you look into the number. So Ben Johnson was asked about that. Like Ben Johnson calls plays. Like it was very much a tag team effort between Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell, because Dan Campbell is such like a jockish meathead looking bro. Like I think people underrate his intelligence, but that was very much a tag team effort. And you saw this when Anthony Lynn got fired mid-season and Dan Campbell was calling the plays. Jared Goff was awesome. His passer rating was exactly what it was with Ben Johnson. And you saw the offense totally open up with creative play calling and play action and efficiency cheat codes like motion. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Detroit's offense is similarly good. It's just different players going off. And like, yeah, why wouldn't you give Jahmyr Gibbs more touches than David Montgomery? The guy was a freak pass catcher, and then he led the league in EPA per carry while Montgomery ranked like 67th. So yeah, I like Gibbs. I like Gibbs a lot.
Yeah, I like that call. Gibbs does seem like, I mean, you're right. If he does take on a bigger workload, then the price tag is totally fine there. Any other running backs that you would like to talk about here?
I think we got the big ones.
Okay. Got the big ones. We're going to move on to receivers. Scott, I apologize. There's no way we're going to get this show done in an hour and a half. So if you would like
That's right. It's week one.
Yeah. If you would like to take a leak, now would be the time.
I'm good.
After receivers. Okay. All right. We're gonna plow through to wide receivers. Start at the top owned receivers. We have 4 at 17%. We'll start with those 4. So we have Teterow at McMillan against Jacksonville, Drake London against Tampa, BTJ against Carolina, Jamar Chase against Cleveland. Do you like all these guys at 17%? Are you fading any of them? I know we already talked about quarterbacks. We can maybe do kind of an abridged version of receivers, but let's just start with those 4. How much do you like them?
So I'm surprised at this. I thought Emeka Egbuka was going to be the highest owned wide receiver of the slate, but I also think Tet McMillan should be 31%. I think Drake London should be 33% in terms of, where we should be ranking these plays. I know I said don't overrate week one, but he just looked like such insane plays to me. Tet McMillan and Exodia. The only one thing I was like, question. Well, he wasn't just an Exodia, it was the Exodia. I was saying, like, if you did not leave your draft with Tet McMillan, we're not going to be friends anymore. This is like the number one don't leave your draft without guy.
I have him, by the way. And like, I think in all my leagues, actually.
Hell yeah. We're friends. Yeah. Love it. And so like one thing I was like, that could ride on this becoming like a good call or an amazing call is how much slot usage he gets. Like I really wanted to see him in the power slot role. And then what happened? Adam Thielen got traded. Jalen Coker out for the first 6 weeks. So I think we see some of that. We saw Deontay Johnson last year, really good volume, despite being a total nutcase off the field in those Andy Dalton starts before he got traded away. And so I think we see double-digit targets. I like the matchup. And then Drake London, I wrote up I wrote up Darnell Mooney, Kyle Pitts as potential leverage plays just because I was expecting like 33%. And to see him come in at 17% really kind of blows my mind. We remember how he ended the season last year with Michael Penix and with Darnell Mooney hurt, and he was just destroying lives. 2 games, 18 targets, 44 DK fantasy points, or that was one game. The one game Darnell Mooney sat 18 targets, 44 DraftKings fantasy points. We remember Kirk Cousins going nuclear against Tampa Bay last year. It's an awful secondary. The Michael Penix just totally locked on to him. Mooney is a true game time decision. So I think he's an amazing play.
Famously went first in the cage match this week before Christian McCaffrey.
That's right.
That's how into him Scott is.
And how
BTJ,
cursed Jake is.
And how cursed Jake is. I mean, we'll see. Maybe he ends up playing. BTJ, I took him. He was my first pick in the cage match. I believe you said you liked the pick. Do you like it at 17% ownership against Carolina?
Yeah, I like it. I just love BTJ. Really one of my, if I were allowed round 2 Exodias, he would have been one. Love Liam Cohen, just the talk all off season about getting him more involved in the slot, which is huge. BTJ last year had the best ever slot fantasy point per route run in fantasy points data history. The Liam Cohen offense is also one with, heavy design, target usage, first read rates, and his slots have always crushed, even in Kentucky with Wan'Dale Robinson, who's like the worst player ever. It was amazing with Liam Cohen. Chris Godwin was behind only Jamar Chase in fantasy points per game. And so, yeah, I like it. I think 17% relative to these other guys, I think is a little high. So I probably won't be heavy on him, but he is a player I like, and I could definitely see him going off. I want to mention Travis Hunter. This is Jake's big conviction call, is that Travis Hunter is an elite contrarian play, leverage play, pivot off of BTJ. This is a player I'm very convicted in. Like I said, I win $1 million if he wins MVP. I won a bunch of money on him winning Heisman last year. And there's a wide range of outcomes here, and it sort of makes sense leaning into that. I'm not as high on Travis Hunter as Jake is, but 17% versus 6%, that is pretty intriguing to me.
He's not listed here, by the way. I think maybe there's an error here. Maybe I can refresh.
Control F.
I just did that, and I couldn't. He wasn't coming up. So maybe. All right, we'll Control F again.
Oh, you're right.
Okay.
That's weird.
Oh wait, no. This is all positions.
No, yeah, that's weird. I'll put a note in. Thanks for the heads up.
Yeah. Yeah, Travis Hunter, but I believe he was projected for like 1 or 2% ownership. He was in there yesterday, so I know he was in there previously. But we'll get that fixed.
We're trying to keep ownership low, I think. They don't want me talking about him on Outside the Box.
So Emeka Egbuka, I mean, we talked about Egbuka as somebody that you expected to be the highest owned here. He's 4,600 projected for 15% ownership. He is also a rookie in week 1. So does the the opportunity for Egbuka and the talent, does that outweigh the fact that he is a rookie in week 1 for you?
I mean, it's a great setup. No Jalen McMillan, no Chris Godwin. I think this was an Exodia who's ADP just kept climbing all off season. Potentially the most, week 1 ready wide receiver in the class, or at least a bunch of scouts said that. Tons of hype on him. But to me, it's just at 15%, same price point as Ricky Pearsall. I would rather go to Ricky Pearsall, another Exodia who's not a rookie. We talked about being skeptical of rookies week 1. I also love Mike Evans. Where is Mike Evans at? 9%. Mike Evans should be 23%. And so when you factor in Ricky Pearsall and you factor in Mike Evans, that's just where I'm going. Also, people think Emeka is going to be in the Chris Godwin slot role. I don't know about that. It wasn't the case in preseason. I think we see Sterling Shepard in the slot role, honestly.
Okay.
But yeah, to me, when you have Pearsall, you have Mike Evans, that's my lean. But I know ETR said Emeka Egbuka is like the best wide receiver play of the slate. Jam him in. So, very, very, very well could be wrong. But what do the projections say? Yeah, our projections have Pearsall ahead by fantasy points per dollar. So that's my lean. That's like, you don't have to tell me on it, but that is what I'm doing with my lineup. So if Egbuka goes off, I'll be lamenting it alongside you.
Yeah, I like that. Pearsall, a guy that you talked me into in the cage match. Another guy that you talked about in the cage match and really convinced me that I want to play him in DFS this week is Jerry Jeudy. And I thought you gave some pretty good reasoning for liking Jeudy with Flacco. Do you like him in week 1 against Cincinnati at 14% ownership? How are we feeling about Jeudy?
Yeah, sort by fantasy points per dollar.
Yeah, it was just there, and he was at the top of the list. Yep, he's one.
Yeah. So I don't know that he should be one. I kind of don't think he should be one, but I mean, number 1 at 14% ownership's awesome. Yeah, I think so. 2 years ago with Cleveland, like I said, Joe Flacco's wide receiver 1 averaged 109 receiving yards per game. Last year with Jameis Winston, Jeudy himself averaged 113 yards per game. Both numbers would have been higher than Jamar Chase last year. And, as crazy as it sounds, I think a 40-year-old Joe Flacco really is like the best quarterback Jeudy has ever played with. This is potentially the league's worst defense. So it just looks like a nut spot for Jerry Jeudy. Jake kind of thinks Cedric Tillman's underrated, but I was talking to our film charters and they really like Jeudy with Flacco. They were like, if it was a different quarterback, I'd agree. And I'd be very bullish on Tillman, but with Flacco, just his anticipation, his ability to connect on a receiver in tight space, working the horizontal routes, which was Judy's bread and butter last year, and hitting him with accuracy in such a way that it really, the yak potential is sky high and so easy to get, that they felt strongly about that. But yeah, look at this. Jeudy 1 and Njoku's going to be 1 at tight end. It's Joe Flacco season, baby. So I'm excited about that. And yeah, it's just, that's also really easy on Burrow bringbacks or onslaughts. So yeah, I like that.
I'm sure you and I are about to make at least one Flacco double stack on this show at the end here. Because I like that quite a bit also. All right, who else? So we actually skipped over Jamar Chase. We talked about him when we talked about Burrow, and I think 17%, is that a bit much for you for Jamar Chase?
I think I like T. Higgins more, if I'm being honest. And I think Chase is going to be even higher owned than you're seeing, just because pricing is so loose.
Yeah,
they're going to want to gravitate towards the highest guy who won Triple Crown last year. And again, dude, Chase has like 50 DK upside in a way that almost no one else has. So that's a really, really scary fade, or even coming under on. But yeah, I think if I'm being honest with myself, I do like T. Higgins, but I understand that's controversial and scary. So I wouldn't want to go too aggressive with that.
I guess we've talked about all the other highest owned except for Malik Neighbors. Doesn't stand out to me. Maybe you should. He's got Russell Wilson as his quarterback for the first time here. He was so targeted last year that maybe I should like him more than I do at 7,000. How are you feeling about Malik Neighbors here against Washington?
Yeah, I can't wait until Jackson Dart is starting. We are going to have so many Dart plus Neighbors stacks, and that's going to make us so much money. Oh my God, I can't wait. Okay. But I love Neighbors. I think there's a very good chance he immediately jumps into the Jefferson Chase conversation as like the 3 wide receivers. I think he has massive PPR cheat code potential. I think we could be looking at like a vintage DeAndre Hopkins, 198 targets with trash quarterback play, but just breaking leagues potential. I will just say I don't really love the matchup. I don't really love that it's Russ Wilson, who tends not to lock on to his number 1. And I don't love that he's dealing with this back injury. I'll have to ask Dan Duggan how serious that is. But I really don't like playing players heading into week 1 with an injury. So I don't think he's a must for me. I think 16% is a little high, but it is a player I like. So who knows?
Puka Nacua, tough matchup here with Houston, but he's Puka Nacua. Do you think he's going to win out in this matchup? How do you feel about 14% ownership at 7,600?
Yeah, I love Puka. This was, Chris Weck's boy. We got a lot of people yelling at us for being too high on Puka Nacua in our season-long projections, but Chris really had a ton of conviction in that. He was also high on Davante Adams. I'm more pessimistic because I'm just a big believer in quarterback chemistry and rapport. And Stafford, dealing with his back injury, barely had any practice time with Davante Adams. And so what do I think happens week 1? I think he just locks onto his boy, Puka Nacua. And I mean, that's really all he did last year. Set the fantasy points data record for XFP per route run. And that was with Cooper Kupp, who wasn't dust until about week 12 or so. And so in full games last year, games over 40% snap share, Puka Nacua better than Jamar Chase, 105 yards per game. So he's clearly, to me, the best 7K wide receiver. I wouldn't call him a must or anything like that, but after Chase, best 7K guy.
Okay, so you like him better than Nico Collins on the other side of the game is 7,400. You prefer Puka over Nico? Okay.
Not easy. I feel like the Christian Kirk thing might. I don't know what to do about that. I don't know if that hurts him or help, because he kind of struggled more when Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell weren't healthy.
Right. Just all the attention on him.
But he's just so freaking good, dude. Like, remember how he opened up last year before the injury against the Bills?
Yeah.
But yeah, they're both guys I'm gonna have exposure to.
I know you're not a big Marvin Harrison Jr. guy, but he's got the nut matchup here. Are you still not interested at 5,500, 10%?
I'm just not a Marvin Harrison guy.
Okay.
He can prove me wrong, and then maybe I will be, but not right now.
Josh Downs. So we got Daniel Jones is getting double-digit ownership, but Josh Downs still at just 13% at 4,600. That kind of stands out to me. Do you like Josh Downs this week?
Yeah. I that was one of my dynasty calls. Is like, I think he's a competent quarterback away from being a household name. And then Anthony Richardson last year was like literally Tim Tebow levels of bad, just no accuracy. He went so run heavy. He's up against a day 3 rookie slot cornerback making his first ever appearance in the NFL. So that's a great matchup.
Yep.
But I like Ricky Pearsall, like a
better
standard deviation more.
All right. Okay. And they're the same price or just about. So it sounds like you're more in on Tyreek Hill than Jalen Waddle.
Yeah.
Would you?
Hell
okay.
Yeah. Waddle's a really good value on FanDuel, by the way. But
okay.
Is this a FanDuel show, Neil?
We're allowed to talk about FanDuel. I mean, especially this week, because if people don't know, they have a I forget what you call it, but they have a can't lose offer where any of your entries. So they have a contest that's $5. I think it's a Millie Maker, but any of your entries that don't cash, you get your money back in FanDuel bucks. So that's this week at least. I'm going to be playing FanDuel a lot also.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a good shout about FanDuel there.
All right, look at Tyreek Hill, Neil. Look at it. I want you
look at it.
I want you to look at Tyreek. What is his price? 6,700.
6,700.
What would his price have been if this was week 16, 2023?
8,700.
And what would his ownership be at that price point?
23%.
Right. And so it's just like this price point and this ownership is like everyone is convinced we're getting 2024 Tyreek Hill. And I want to tell you that is foolish hubris, overconfidence. And again, it's the whole game of DFS is power law players leaning into had to have it potential, slate wrecking potential. And I think Tyreek has that potentially more than anyone else. This is one of the most mind-blowing stats there is in games with Tua under center, Tyreek Hill averages 31 DK fantasy points per game in his top 50% of games. So just half the time you're getting 30, which is a had to have it slate breaking score. And we're showing 10%, 6,700, which is just insane. People want to say, oh, he's cooked, he's washed, vibes are bad.
Tua hates him.
Daniel's going to get fired.
Yep.
Maybe. It's week 1. It's week 1. Like he people think the vibes are awful. I think the vibes are good. I know Rich Rebar might be the only person who agrees with me on it, but it's just like they're holding him accountable. He's not a captain because he didn't deserve it. And Tyreek kind of shrugs it off and he's like, yeah, I have to earn it, guys. But you saw him on a track, running the 100-meter faster than Xavier Worthy. Dude is like such an all-time freak. Yeah. And so I will say, I don't think the matchup's good. I don't think the schematics matchup's good. But dude, it's freaking Tyreek Hill, no Jonnu Smith, and it's Tyreek Hill. Yeah.
I'm into it.
Jake doesn't agree with me. I don't think Ryan agrees with me, but
I'm with you. I'll play Tyreek Hill with you because I faded him in best ball. Like I'm kind of a hater this year in best ball, but I think week 1, like this is just we'll find out. We'll find out pretty quickly if I was an idiot to fade him, and I will. I'll happily make that hedge in this case because I think he is.
If you win $1 million, you're not going to care about your
exactly. I'll just forget that I played best ball if I win $1 million. Right. Yeah. So let's try to do that. Who else? Anybody else that I wanted to? I'm sure there are others. JSN. I mean, I guess he's like a 3rd rounder in best ball this year. He's only 5,800 here, taking over as the potential presumptive wide receiver 1 there in Seattle. Of course, they got Cooper Kupp, who you have been talking about a lot, maybe joking about a lot. It's sort of unclear whether you are enamored with Cooper Kupp. I'm actually trying to find him. Like, is he in play for you? Yeah, I mean, nobody really knows. Nobody really knows.
I just had to keep making the upside argument because no one else was making it. Dude, through the first 12 weeks last year, he was the wide receiver 2 by fantasy points per game, and his ass was good. And
got a great ass. That
dude, people just treated him as dead in a Best Ball Mania format with like a $2 million grand prize. But yeah, I really like Brock Purdy. So I think the bring back with JSN is super easy if you wanted to get spicy, or especially for a smaller field, if you wanted to throw one of the running backs in, you could do that. If you wanted to get crazy for a super large field tournament. Well, I wanted to talk about this, Neil. So like I said, I play all my single entries, and then I also play the Miller Lite $0 free roll.
Okay. Yep.
And I cashed in that way more times than you would ever think. Like the cash line is like this big. Yeah. And so many weeks I was like, if I threw this into the red zone, I would have shipped it.
You should do that. So you should start doing that.
Right. So I had a note on my desk for all of the off season that I just remembered about it. I rewrote it and put it on my desk. Was, go YOLO, like lean into uncertainty, but swap your cheapest entry with your $50 entry. Right. And so right now the free roll I made was a Geno double with Kupp and JSN as like my most, what was it called? Half-baked, harebrained, full YOLO, galaxy brained, full YOLO lineup. But yeah, I mean, I like him on bringbacks. Otherwise, I'm not really playing him.
Okay, gotcha. Who else? Trying to see if there's anybody else that JMO. Do you like JMO 5,500 at 4%?
Yeah, again, it's we want to be leaning into upside and the what ifs, where we don't really know anything for week 1. And so like the thesis that maybe, Ben Johnson, like anytime he talks about it, is like he worships the slot wide receiver position. John Morton has been gassing Jamison Williams up to like insane degrees. So, what if Jamison Williams comes out and gets Amon-Ra St. Brown type volume in a game Detroit's expected to trail, which is where we really see Jared Goff open up and lean more pass heavy. So, I think that's good at this ownership. Another one is DK Metcalf, which isn't like one of my calls, but it was a Chris call where he was just like, this doesn't make sense to me. This doesn't make sense. And like, Chris is just so damn good at projections. And would it really shock us if Metcalf comes out of the gates with like a 30% target share? I don't think he's that type of wide receiver, but like Aaron Rodgers just locks in on his BFFs. This is his new BFF. They were practicing together before either of them were on the Steelers. And it's also a man heavy matchup against the Jets. And they're like probably going to be stubbornly man heavy. And DK Metcalf historically shreds man coverage. So I think 5,900, 4% is pretty interesting.
No, that is interesting. Not a guy I'd give it any thought to, but
I feel like I'm not going to play him. But
he
have
interests
to
you.
talk about him. Yeah.
Yeah. Rashid, you're the Rashid Shaheed whisperer, so we at least have to talk about, like, is he an okay play here at 4,600 with Rattler as his quarterback?
I don't think so when he's right next to Ricky Pearsall.
Yeah.
And pricing is so loose, and Arizona shuts down the deep ball. So probably not. But you know me, I love Shaheed. That was like a hot take I got destroyed for, which is like, I don't know that Chris Olave is really better than Shaheed. And like every year I just keep saying that. Yeah.
That is a hot take. That's a very hot take. Liget, like I'm like a little bit intrigued by Liget at 4,200 just because of this game potential. Do you have any interest in Liget?
Yeah, I just don't believe in his talent, and I just don't really think you have to go there week one. But
yeah, Matthew Golden at 4,900, 3% ownership. Is he a rookie that you'd make an exception for?
I'm kind of worried about not having Green Bay, Detroit onslaughts. You know, these teams kind of play each other tough. The games usually go under, especially when it's at Lambeau. But I don't know. You have this weird Jaden Reed injury. Maybe things condense, and then like LaFleur is just like the wide receiver goat from a manufactured ass standpoint, from a fantasy points per route run standpoint, from a fantasy points per game standpoint, not at all. Why is that? It's because he loves these rotations. He loves these committees. But with Christian Watson out, Jaden Reed banged up, and a guy he spent a first round pick on, maybe Golden goes nuclear, but I ultimately didn't write him up. But I do think onslaughting this game for like a milli lineup's interesting.
Okay. We should talk about Dante Thornton because everybody has been bringing him up. We have, I don't know to what extent Christian Gonzalez being out on the Patriots matters for Dante Thornton, but he's 3,600. I know he's a guy that you liked for best ball at least. How do you feel about Dante Thornton in week one against the Patriots?
Yeah, I liked him for Dynasty. I liked him for best ball. It was really just like freak athlete, freak hyper efficiency. Maybe there's something there. And then the vibes just been crazy. Awesome, good vibes. Jack Betch, he spent a day 2 pick on, and Dante Thornton just immediately supplanted him. I kind of think he's just going to get like a clear out role to utilize his speed and open things up for Bowers and the tight ends. But maybe he catches a deep ball and smashes. I'm kind of not chasing it in week one, especially for a rookie in week one, but
clear out role that like will hit a couple times a year usually, right? It'll be just like he'll have those games where he has the long one and then otherwise. So it's just a wide range of outcomes that's usually not going to hit, but it could work out. Who else? I'm almost intrigued by Hunter Renfrow because of the matchup, because of the 3,200 slot roll. It's like sort of interesting to me, but I don't know that you need to go there. Cat for Life asked I wanted to ask somebody else asked Jennings versus Pearsall. Do you have a take there? I know you don't like the guys coming back from injury, and Jennings is. So you're clearly Pearsall over Jennings.
Yeah, that's a big reason why I'm feeling good about Pearsall is the holdout wide receivers tend not to get targets early on. We tend to struggle, might be out of shape, don't know the playbook as well. And like Kyle Shanahan last year, like really threw Brandon Ayuk under the bus a few times where he was like, why isn't Brandon Ayuk getting targets? It's like, well, maybe he should have been here in July. Right. So, because like Kyle Shanahan goat, I'm a huge Kyle Shanahan truther, but like, is there any coach who like coaches with their emotions more than Shanahan? I don't think there is. And so, I'm not chasing it. That's a big reason why I'm high on Pearsall.
Any other wide receivers you want to talk about?
If Drake London was at the ownership like he should be, I would be very bullish on Darnell Mooney, despite the game time decision tag. Because people forget, like before his week 17 injury, Drake London only had 23 more receiving yards than Mooney. And like Mooney is very much the big play threat, which is great for DFS. And it's also like Michael Penix's bread and butter. Scouts were saying best deep ball they've seen since Russell Wilson when he came out. But I don't know. I'm kind of more inclined to just chase Drake London, I think.
Yep. Makes sense. It wouldn't be that shocking if like by tomorrow the ownership comes up on London, but yeah, I think I still like London at this ownership. All right, let's do a brief look at tight ends and then build some lineups.
Hell yeah.
So tight ends, and I'll sort by ownership here. The top is Njoku, who I know that you're pretty into, but 16% not going to scare you off.
No, I'm very, very into, I think, we always say on this show, like, oh, you could just fade the chalky tight end because the chalky tight end never hits. But this time
it could work for us.
Very excited. Yeah, like I said, 81 yards per game last time he was with Joe Flacco. For perspective, Drake London averaged 74.8 yards per game last year. Also smashed with Jameis Winston. And then even like with all the shitty quarterbacks, he was top 5 in fantasy points per game each of the last 2 years. I think this is a great matchup. Should be a pass heavy, high scoring affair. I think Flacco really leans heavy on his old friend. Cincinnati gave up the most fantasy points per game to tight ends a season ago. And Njoku played them twice, averaged 12 targets, 71 yards, 91 fantasy points per game. In those games, a Deshaun Watson start, a DTR start. So just like a no-brainer. If you want to get really cute, I wonder if Harold Fannin could be a leverage play. Might be too thin for a week 1 rookie, but I worry a little bit, not about him like stealing too many routes from Njoku, more just like operating in the same short area of the field and stealing targets. But I kind of don't think that really happens week 1, but we'll see.
Okay. Yeah, it'll be great sign for Fannin if it does happen week 1. But yeah, it feels maybe we can wait that one out a little bit. Let's talk about just the elites, like Bowers versus McBride. Kittle's sort of a different, actually he's not that different in price. So we can talk about the trio together. Bowers, McBride, Kittle. How would you rank them? We've got Kittle at 11% ownership, McBride at 10%, Bowers at 8%. Are you going to play all of them across some of your lineups? Do you have a ranking of those 3?
I would have way more Kittle personally. I'm just like, that's my potentially favorite player in the NFL. So okay. I might have a bias here.
I love Kittle. Yeah.
But I think he's the right play. Since 2020 in games without Debo, he averages 18.3 to 21.1 fantasy points per game, depending on where you want to cut the snap share, just because he leaves a lot of games hurt. So like 30% snap share, 18.3, 50%, 21.1. But basically, either way, those numbers are way closer to Jamar Chase last year than they are to Trey McBride or Brock Bowers. And so now there's no Debo. Jawan Jennings only just recently rejoined the team. Dude fucking was awesome last year. Outscored Brock Bowers, outscored Trey McBride. Wide receiver 16 by salary. So Kittle's my heavy lean. Then I would say probably McBride and then Bowers.
Okay.
Yeah. But
you don't feel strongly about that.
Kittle's my strong lean.
I like it. I like that. So it's different than my instinct, which was probably McBride and then Bowers and then Kittle. But I think that's, again, me caring more about the matchups, and Kittle has kind of the tough one with Seattle. So that one scares me a little bit. But I do EW as double tight end week. I actually think this could be a strong double tight end week. Because we have some good options in these games.
We always hated double tight end because
I never did, for the record, but most people did. I was the one who did not.
I did. And I think it was just because, like, I remember from 2022 how stupid it was, and 2023 how stupid it was. But like pricing changes. And so, pricing is a lot more favorable to tight ends now. So I think the ceiling is still sus relative to a wide receiver, but maybe not when you're talking about the big 3, which just seem like freaks.
Yeah, for sure. So outside of the elites, we have Brenton Strange getting 7% ownership. Great matchup. He's only 3,300, just a little bit too cheap for his starting tight end role. Do you have interest in Brenton Strange?
Yeah, he's fine. He's just a little cheap. I mean, Liam Cohen never really used his tight end last year unless every single wide receiver was hurt.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know. He's
Yeah.
cheap and a tight end. Who cares?
Yeah. Tucker Kraft, 4,000. Like, I think a lot of people are kind of expecting a leap this year for Tucker Kraft. Do you see it that way, or do you like him in week 1?
Yeah, I really don't trust LaFleur, but like I think it makes sense for him to take a leap in terms of target volume. He's coming off of a 99th percentile yards per target season. And when you see like hyper efficiency to that degree, you really do see a massive target share bump. With the Jaden Reed injury, per sources, Green Bay is going to play a lot more 12 personnel. Luke Musgrave took a leap. And they do really like Kraft. And then, like,
Okay.
even if all that's wrong, it's still just like a player who has way more big play potential than just about any other tight end because he's so good. So
He's just
you
a
have
dog
all
out there.
that.
Yeah.
He is a
I'm with
dog.
you.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I see people in chat bringing up Tyler Warren. So he's 4,400. I know people are super excited on Tyler Warren being a potential Taysom or something like that. It could just be sort of a Swiss Army knife. Do you think we see that right away in his rookie year? Are you interested in Tyler Warren this week?
I mean, we talk about rookies tend to struggling in week 1. Rookies also, for the most part, really second half of the year is what you're targeting when they, live into their fullest potential. And then like tight ends, with the exception of Sam Laporta, Brock Bowers, like usually rookie season's tough. I think Warren was elite enough as a prospect to buck that trend. But I'd be honest, I wouldn't feel great about him week 1 with 4 great wide receivers on this team as well, and Daniel Jones as the quarterback. But I don't know. Target volume is clearly there this preseason. He didn't make my list, but I wouldn't be mad at anyone playing him at 3%, but probably a little overpriced by the value.
Hope asks, if playing in small contests like 12 people, do you still use the same players you're loving in the big contests? I would say like 90% of the players that we've talked about, I would still, but then a lot of my more off the wall takes are players I wouldn't play in a 12-person contest. Like you've probably named a few that we wouldn't.
I've never played a 12 when I say small field, I'm talking like 5,000.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's not my bread and butter either. I don't do a ton of it. But yeah, it would be different.
I would just play the fantasy points optimal. We have a ton of subscribers who are in like friend leagues or work leagues where it's them versus like 30 people and they just play the fantasy points optimal and they crush every week.
Yeah. And I would expect it. Great projections. That is, they're going to work out if you just play the optimal. Yeah, I agree. In a 12 person, you don't need to get fancy and play these more off the wall plays. Who else do I want to ask you about? Anybody in particular? You already brought up Fannin, who's one of the more like intriguing, at least.
Yeah,
probably nothing, but could be.
Yeah, I didn't write him up, but it just kind of popped up in the back of my brain as like,
Jatavian Sanders against Jacksonville. Go ahead. Who do you like?
Yeah, I mean, maybe if Tommy Tremble was out, Sanders certainly would have been one of my big conviction plays. I'm just a little worried it's a committee like it was last year. So he didn't get a write up from me. Zach Ertz, the projections really like. I talked about Terry McLaurin, maybe getting off to a slow start. I feel like Debo might be a little redundant, but like we kind of forget how awesome Zach Ertz was last year. Like the dude is 47 years old, but he had a ceiling. He exceeded 24 DraftKings fantasy points in 2 of his last 5 games. At 47 years old, actually he's 35. He's younger than Travis Kelce, believe it or not. But like you're supposed to get worse as the season drags on. He was even better at the tail end of last year, like almost identical target share to Terry McLaurin even, which is insane. Kingsbury just loves Ertz. Strong XFP related value. I'm not super bullish. I'm not super excited, but have to bring him up. Projections also really like Tyler Higbee. Rams all offseason talking about playing more 12 personnel, becoming maybe a little more tight end centric. He came back from a really bad injury last year, averaged 7.3 targets, 53 yards, 15 fantasy points per game. Small sample, final 3 games, but still kind of interesting. Theo Johnson, Jake really likes. He's just basically cheap, and people forget, like towards the tail end, like he was a lot better than you remember. 17% target share. Giants don't have anyone besides Malik Neighbors and and Wan'Dale Robinson, the least efficient wide receiver in football. But I think my favorite super low on play. Oh, I really like Chigo Okonkwo. Hold on.
I was going to bring up Chigakonkwo actually.
Oh, hell yeah. This is a little bit sources telling me he's going to be the number 2 receiver early in the year. Route share and usage is going to be a lot like what we saw at the tail end of last year. If you don't remember, we were jamming him in and in the preseason, which was kind of the same thing. Patrick Surtain is going to shadow Calvin Ridley. So I think he should get some extra volume this week. So I really like him. That's for sure my favorite low owned tight end of the week. But just remember, like when we're talking about tight ends, it's really just like you just stack up your quarterback for
a lot of the time. Yeah.
Yeah. But Kyle Pitts, I also think is really interesting. And so this is probably the only time I'm going to say that. Like we're not doing the Kyle Pitts thing again. You don't have to worry about that. It's just literally this is the only matchup. Kyle Pitts in this offense destroys cover 3. Tampa Bay is the most cover 3 heavy defense. And Kyle Pitts, literally only 2 good games last year came against the Buccaneers. He scored 25 and 16 DraftKings fantasy points. Literally no one talking about him. So as just like a YOLO large field, you could throw Pitts in there or stack him with Penix or stack him with Baker. He's a better play than Kate Otten.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to play some Pitts. I like that call out because I haven't heard anybody talking about him. I haven't really given any thought to Kyle Pitts, but that's an interesting one.
Yeah, that's another Ryan Heath play. Shout out Ryan Heath.
Hunter Henry as a stack if you're playing Drake May. I guess you just mentioned you can stack up whatever with your quarterback. All right,
that might be my preferred lean even
for if you are stacking Drake May. Yeah. All right. Want to build some lineups?
Let's do it. Been waiting 6 months to hear you say that.
Yeah, me too. All right, we're gonna do. Are we doing the Millie Maker, the $5 Millie Maker? Do you want to find a single entry or something? All right, we'll do this.
Let's do
All right.
But let's also do the $0 Miller Lite or whatever, and just try and make the most off the wall team we can do.
All right.
And then if that cashes, we have to just from now on.
I mean, we can just do that in the $5 because it's a $5 entry this week, so we could just do the most off the wall in this one. All right. So so we started doing last year one where you lead, one where I lead, and then one where we kind of work together on it. Does that work for you?
Yeah, I like that.
So I will let you lead the first one. Who do you want the stack to be?
Let's go with a Flacco. Flacco.
Yeah, I like that. We're doing
Judy and Njoku.
Yeah.
Higgins.
Judy, there we go. Higgins. Boom. Njoku. There we go. 57-20 left per player. 2 running backs, a receiver, flex, and defense to go.
Let's do Achane. Let's do Hubbard, Panthers D.
Okay. Oh yeah, lean into the hate for T-Law.
Dude,
that's some nice leverage. That's some nice leverage.
He's never had a higher QBR than Derek Carr in any season of his career.
It's not great. That is not great.
Someone the other day was like, yeah, you're just a T-Law hater. You're just a Caleb Williams hater. So yeah, I'm waiting to be proven wrong.
I have guesses as where you're going to go, but I'm going to let you say who you want here.
I want to hear your guess.
My guess would be Drake London and Tyreek Hill.
So Drake London for sure. And then how much salary do we have?
We have enough for Jonathan Taylor, BTJ, or Tyreek Hill. Or Chase Brown, whoever you like. Mike Evans, I know you like.
Is there a mini stack we can go with?
I mean, Mike Evans would be a little mini stack.
Let's do it.
Okay. Nice.
I love Mike. Dude, I love Mike Evans this week. I love Drake London this week. This is a sick team.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, BTJ wouldn't have made sense because we're playing the Panthers defense. This is a pretty sick team.
This is where you shine, Neil. I think I'm a pretty good DFS analyst. You are a much better DFS player. So what do you think this is taking on? Too much? Is this too much of a contrarian build? Is this a perfect contrarian build? What does the cumulative ownership represent to you? Is this optimally stacked? You are the guy who won $1 million playing DFS. So you break it down.
I think this is a perfect lineup. No notes. I think this is awesome. You got Flacco. I love that you did the double stack with the bring back Flacco with Njoku and Judy. I'm not even like super into Higgins this week, but I think it makes a lot of sense when you're doing a double stack to have a Higgins as a bring back. You can obviously crush in this matchup. You gave a lot of reasons there. You did the Hubbard with the Panthers defense and no Jacksonville players. That's like you're really leveraging. A lot of people are going to be playing Jacksonville. You are making the bet against that working out. Mike Evans, just kind of a somewhat contrarian play, not like super contrarian, but you've got the Evans London connection, little correlation game stack there, secondary mini stack. And then HN, you're just betting on, he's maybe going to get a little bit under owned due to the cap, but you're just betting on a talented player. I love it. I think this is a great lineup.
I think this is a great Millie lineup. I think this is a very Al Zeidenfeld-esque lineup. Like if anyone remembers his old videos, he was on this maybe before anyone else. He was like double stack, bring back, mini stack. It's like GG. That is such a potent cheat code. And then like JM to win, who I used to do a show with. I really loved his a priori reasoning, where it's like when you're building a lineup, you're like picking a lock, right? And you have to get 9 things perfectly right to stand the chance to win $1 million. And this is, again, JM preaches this and he does it better than anyone else. Keep in mind, you are playing for first place. You are not playing to cash. That is a mistake. That was me 3 years ago, 4 years ago, where like my cash rate in tournaments was insane. Like it was unfathomable. And still, like I probably lost money on the year. Why? Because you're not getting first place. You really need first place and you need to be playing for first place. But his whole thing is, you're like picking a lock. You need to get 9 things right. Okay. But if you do a double stack with a bring back, you need to get 6 things right. If you add a mini stack, okay, you only need to get 4 things right. If you stack the running back with the defense, you only need to get 3 things right. You need the Browns to go off. You need Hubbard to, the Panthers not to be a shootout. You need Panthers to win and Hubbard to get a bunch of touchdowns. And then you need the London Evans game to be a good pass heavy, high scoring affair. So 3 things we're betting on. Yep. And that just gives you such an edge over everyone else.
You're just you're taking a large parlay and making it a smaller parlay, the number of things you need to get right. And it's obviously, it's not exactly that because you still need we have Flacco with Judy and Njoku. Could end up being Flacco with Tillman and Njoku or Tillman and Judy. Like it's not perfect, but you really minimize the number of bets you have to get right here. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful lineup. Very well done.
All right, enough glazing this lineup, Neil. Now it's time for you to make your lineup.
All right. Oops. Let me go this way. Draft team. All right.
I hope that lineup finishes in last place, and this lineup you build wins $1 million.
Yeah, me too. That's what I hope. No, I hope they both finish at the top. All right. Who do I want to do? So you're the anti-Tila. I'm debating if I should just do the exact opposite.
I'm happy. That sounds fun for me.
All right, let me do the opposite case then. Then I'll do T-Law with BTJ and Travis Hunter.
I think that's the way to play it.
And then I will do. Do I want a Carolina bring back? I could do Tet McMillan bring back to keep
so maybe my instincts are wrong, but I really just feel like everyone's gonna do Lawrence, BTJ, McMillan.
It's probably gonna be
50-50, but I just feel like that is probably the chalkiest, 2-player plus quarterback combination.
It could be. You know what I could do instead, actually, because I want to get off the wall in these millies. I'm thinking about if I want to take one of these receivers out and instead make it Travis Etienne, because that is the running back off the wall that I want to lean into this week. You don't want to get too contrarian, so I don't want to make it in like because
my disdain for Travis Etienne. Like I've tilted on so many FFPC live streams because my partners made me draft Travis Etienne, who like I wouldn't draft in round 16.
I mean, I wasn't super in on him in best ball, but for week 1 in this matchup with Carolina, I think I'm intrigued by it. I could actually just do a full-on team stack. I could include Etienne in my Jacksonville lineup, just totally make a bet on it. Let me think about my defense.
I like how this pairs with a Chuba Hubbard or other Chuba Hubbard build.
Yeah.
I would avoid a Jacksonville running back if we can, personally.
Okay. All right. Fine. I'll avoid it then.
I appreciate it.
Man, who do I like here? Could go Pittsburgh. What was Pittsburgh defense price? 3,300.
Jalen Warren. Stack it up with Steelers defense. You're a Warren guy, right? I was a big
kind of. Yeah, I would say I don't love him this week, so I don't think I want to lean into that. I mean, I could just do. I'll pay down for now. I'm going to go with the Texans defense. I don't love it against Stafford, but I'm going to start there. I'm going to start with the Texans defense and not do one of the running backs with him. I'm going to pay up at tight end. Actually, I might double pay up at tight end. I like McBride against New Orleans. Do I want to go with Kittle? I'll play your guy Kittle. I know how much you like him.
Yeah. And then if McBride scores a touchdown this week,
I could put McCaffrey in there and make the bet that if he plays. But I might not do that. I might not take the shot on McCaffrey. Maybe I'll go Bucky and then pay up a little bit more at defense. And I did not play Tyreek Hill in this one. That's all right. Don't need to play him in every lineup.
We'll play him in the third one for sure.
Yeah. I could go. No. I was thinking Kyron for a second. Actually, James Conner. Then what else could I pay up for? If I go James Conner, then I could pay.
Oh, can you get his defense?
Arizona. Yeah, that's true. I could play the Arizona defense. I like that. That's one I was thinking about playing. Then I have 500 left over.
Can you move up from Ford to someone else? Or am I then talking you off of your guy?
I mean, I could play Hubbard again. Oh, I do like Kenneth. Yeah, I like that.
I mean, okay. I would rather, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a strong lineup. I think that's a good one. All right, we're in for our second lineup. This one not as correlated as the last one, but we do still have Jacksonville double stacked, Carolina bring back.
So how does this separate from other T-Law, BTJ, McMillan teams?
I mean,
is it Kittle and McBride finish top 5 among wide receivers in fantasy points?
Not a lot of people are going to be playing the double tight end, so I don't think that combo is going to be particularly popular. I don't think we get a ton of ownership on Kenneth Walker. Maybe I'm misremembering where he's at in terms of ownership. He could be higher than I'm thinking. But really, ultimately, I don't think so. Even if that is the most popular Jacksonville stack, it's going to represent like 3% of lineups in the field. So like it does still reduce the size of content. Like if that's the double stack you need, you are reducing the field pretty significantly if that one goes off. Even if it is a popular stack, it's still not like if it's what you need. Like you're still competing with a much smaller field. And then we have the double tight ends, particularly that with McMillan in there as well. So that block of players, Lawrence, BTJ, McMillan, and Hunter. I don't think it's going to be that owned. I think it'll be maybe kind of chalky, but like as a big group, I don't think it's going to be extremely chalky. And then Kenneth Walker, James Conner, like it's not going to be nobody else is playing. Maybe they are now, but people probably not landing on this lineup a ton overall. I think it's good. I think it works. Good enough.
Okay. So I was saving our best lineup for last. This last one is for sure going to win $1 million, like guaranteed. We should just throw it into every single lineup because it's going to win or every contest because it's going to win all of them. But first, I just wanted one last plug. We're going to be less obnoxious in future weeks, but again, like really, you should just join Fantasy Points Week 1. OTB 15. Really appreciate everyone who watches this show and subscribes to Fantasy Points, but we don't love you like I love Fantasy Point subscribers, and you're just not going to regret it. It's like 99.9% customer satisfaction. Fun to hang out in Discord, really good tools, amazing projections, best content in the industry, et cetera, et cetera. So OTB 15 for 15% off.
100%. Sign up, use OTB 15, get that discount. Scott, we're doing the $100 milli here because
I was just joking. I thought that, I don't know that we could beat our first lineup.
Yeah, no, I mean, we could switch where we're playing them, but I think I actually like the idea. C Money says 2 a double. That is one that we could consider for this one, but because the other 2 lineups are only $5 a piece, I feel like I'm willing for this 1 week. We'll do one pay up on the show.
Yeah, make sure you Venmo me. I owe you $55.
Okay, all right. We could go.
Now I'm scared. This is the whole psychological element of DFS and why my YOLO $0 lineup smash is because, you know, occasionally once every month I'll be like, all right, I'm going to play a $200, a $300. And I turn into a wussy and I play too conservative and my lineups don't stand a chance of winning first place. So you gotta just imagine, right. You know,
yeah. Don't worry about it. We're playing to win. Don't think about the money.
Just
we got this.
Balls on the table.
Balls on the table. This is the
line. Right, we're gonna put Tyreek in here.
Yeah, for sure. Tyreek makes a lot of sense. Immediately. 6,700.
And now
do we want to play it as though Christian McCaffrey is going to play? And then we can obviously swap off later if we need to.
Yeah. I mean, I really don't have a great read on CMC one way or the other. I think late news is going to be important with that. Yeah.
I guess what is the latest here?
There's nothing since yesterday.
Expected to suit up unless he has a set. But yeah. He says he's going to play. Do we just do it? Let's put him in there and then we can talk on Sunday if we need to adjust.
Well, here's what I was going to pitch to you. You want to just take him out for right now?
Sure.
I was going to pitch to you a Purdy team.
Yeah. You like Purdy. Nobody's playing it.
With, I think, Pearsall and Kittle.
Yep. That works for me.
JSN on the bring back. If you wanted to talk me into Walker over JSN, I wouldn't get mad at you. Or if you wanted to add one of the running backs, I wouldn't get mad at it. Because, I mean, we've seen these 49ers onslaughts work. And again, Seattle's defense is really good. But I'm just such a Kyle truther. I think for wide receiver, I'm going to give you an option of names. Okay. I just think they're too good that it scares me to fade. Drake London, Tet McMillan, Mike Evans, T. Higgins, Jerry Jeudy. Has to be one of those.
I'm going to go with Jerry Jeudy for the price savings, I think.
Okay.
I like Jerry Jeudy quite a bit this week. I think it makes a lot of sense against Cincinnati, but we're low on, so we're going to need to find some value at running back at this point. I guess we can put the defense in there and then work from there, figure out the running back pricing. Do you like Texans against Matthew Stafford or? I
would put in Pollard. I think
Pollard. Okay. It's a good call. That's a good call.
Cheaper running back. And then you could kind of figure out the rest. I'm scared now.
We have enough money. We could put in more than Henderson if we want to. Could go RJ Harvey. We could go Kenneth Walker. I mean, there's no reason we can't have 2 bringbacks on this lineup.
You can't. So that's a thing that's worth talking about is like sometimes for the Millie, perhaps in particular, is like sometimes a game just goes fucking crazy and like everyone smashes that because that's the Alex Baker thing, right? You know, when I studied his lineups, it would always just like, what?
Yeah.
He had Tua, the running back, 2 receivers, and then 2 bringbacks, but then he ships a milli.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to give that devil's advocate, but I'm with you. Like, I never do that, and it grosses me out.
Yeah, let's try it. Let's do it, because it's what Alex Baker does.
I don't know.
You hate it. You don't want to do it.
I know, it really does make me sick to my stomach. All right, so no, we could go more expensive.
Yeah,
Can we do
could.
Connor and Arizona?
Oh, maybe we could. I like that. Connor 61. Yeah, we got 300 left over if we play Cardinals defense. Look at that. Is there anything that we need $300 for? I don't think so. I think we got the lineup here. Party double with Pearsall and Kittle. We've got JSN as the bring back on that one. We have Pollard as a one-off. James Conner with the Arizona defense.
Hey, for the noobs, do we have the right flex? Is Judy a 1 p.m.?
He probably is. So who would be the likelier? I guess Pearsall is probably anybody else is the 4 p.m.
Yeah.
It's likely.
So the way the rule works for late swap is you should have the latest, most expensive guy in the flex. So yeah, for the noobs out there.
Wait, who did I just take out? I took
my
out
biggest fear, Neil, is that I ship a tournament and I have a 1 p.m. guy in the flex, and Johnny never lets me live it down.
To gonna make fun of you for that. Yeah,
I know. I would have almost wished I didn't win.
But it would be my lineup, so he wouldn't make fun of you. You would just get money for it, so it wouldn't be that bad.
You're right. That'd be sick.
Yeah. All right, there it is. There are 3 lineups. Steven says he can't figure out how to use Discord.
Yeah, just go to Fantasy Points and then go to at the top media Discord chat. That gives you a link and a video and screenshots, and it shows you how to get in there and what you need to do.
Yeah. And if not, you can always message their chat,
just don't message me, because I'm a boomer too. I'm not sure I can figure it out.
All right. Scott, there it is. That is the first episode. I said my goal is to get us in under 90 minutes. We're a little over 2 hours now, but it was worth every minute of it. I know that you peed your pants by now, but how are you feeling otherwise?
Feeling soggy for peeing my pants. No, I'm feeling great. I'm so glad to be back. Neil, I love you. I missed you. YouTube chat, I love you. I missed you. Thanks to everyone
but especially the Discord.
Yeah, especially our 4chan ass Discord. Shout out Brain. Shout out Donnie.
All right. Thanks everybody. We really appreciate you. Make sure you use OTB15 to get 15% off any package at Fantasy Points. And also please do like the video and subscribe to the channel. We very much appreciate it. We will see you next week. Thanks guys.
What?
Why are you shaking your head? You're welcome.